Things don't always go to plan in the workshop, but unfortunately that's just part of woodworking. The first mock-up I made needed some adjustments, and then the router bit grabbed hard on me and took chunks out. If you haven't seen my prior videos, I've been building some DIY wood toys for my girls for Christmas and birthdays for over a year now. The set includes a truck, trailer, boat, and a helicopter, so I think it's time for a wheeled excavator. That maybe should have been my first toy I built because my girls, and I think most kids, just love construction equipment. I put it off probably because all the links and connections and the digger arms were a bit intimidating. I also went for the wheeled option because, yeah, hole saws make wheels pretty quickly, tracks, not so much. In most of my prior videos, I typically print out a reference, then draw or exaggerate what lines I think are necessary. Since it's all pretty much squares, I started with just the wheel size I thought was best from the random hole saw assortment I have in a drawer, and then just improvise as I go. I'll check the reference when needed just to get an idea. In my typical fashion, this is all just leftover pine from some old storage shelves I removed. Not perfectly straight, but it will work great for this project. And I plan to use food-safe butcher block oil finish and mainly thumb screws and T-nuts glued into place for the toy movement. I really struggle to get the screw-in style insert nuts aligned properly in pine and have pretty much given up on trying them. If you have any tips, let me know, but for now I'll just assume they work best with hardwoods. Also, these thumb screws could be replaced with, nuts and bolts in the future and tools just to help with some of the motor skills and kind of wrenching skills that can be developed. I'll be using my bandsaw and drill press quite a bit for this project. I like to think that a jigsaw and drill could duplicate most of the parts, but these do get pretty small. I think it could still be done, but you would need to take some safety precautions in planning. A scroll saw would also be great and maybe even better than a bandsaw for these projects. You may notice a band-aid on my finger. While it was from the bandsaw, it wasn't from the blade. I didn't cut myself. I had the saw open, spinning the wheels by hand to investigate a noise coming from the saw, possibly a bad bearing. I spun the bottom wheel hard and hit a cast pulley behind the wheel and cut my finger. Accidents do happen. It bled pretty good, but eventually got it stopped and then glued it up. After routing the cab for a while, I moved to the front and immediately the bit grabbed and chewed up the cab. I was able to hang on and get the router shut off. This is a pretty old bit, but maybe I was too quick to make the turn onto the end grain. Initially, I just wanted to toss the cab and start over, but I can fix it. I wasn't able to find the big chunk that came off. It would have been best just to glue that in place. I made a small piece to fit in there. Sorry if my voice is a little nasalier than usual. My kids brought home the plague from daycare. So it's been a fun week. After that was glued, there was still a gap because it was really hard to get that in the right place. I have some old Famo wood that's pretty dried up. Quick text to my old man reminded me that it's acetone to get it back to a usable state. Worked pretty well, but I won't fully know how it looks until after sealer. Just gives it character anyway, right? These T-nuts do like to split wood, so I do some additional drilling to try and prevent that. On these smaller links, it's still split. I just filled it with wood glue and clamped overnight. It seems pretty secure, but I might make a replacement in the future. I try to do the minimum amount of work to get it to a test fit or mock-up. If you need to make adjustments and remake stuff, it's better to learn that by failing as quick as possible. You can spend a lot of time sanding before you know it works. I have to make some adjustments with the holes. In this mock-up, I also wanted to check that it didn't make it too forward heavy and tip with these wheels. It seemed fine. I did make the link near the bucket too small, but that's quick to replace and make a new longer one. So it's time for a bunch of sanding. I'll do this all with an orbital by hand, while I like Mirka Abranet for good sandpaper. I have a cheap box off Amazon that I use for these type of projects. I'll mainly be working with 120, maybe 80 if I want to remove material quicker, and a final once over at 180 grit. The sealer is old and it was pretty cold out, so it's pretty thick. I did do a second light coat quickly. After sealing, many of the holes will swell up, so good to drill out again quickly before final assembly. Hopefully you enjoyed the build. I've been playing around with upgrading my shop vac cart and testing out this fine dust extractor while working on this project. I have a video comparing performance and features of the cheaper DIY Cyclone shop vac cart and the more expensive fine dust extractor. Feel free to check that out as well as my other toy build videos. Please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks so much for watching.